I'm good.
Rob's good. Deputy Mayor Kent's good. Commissioner Persis is good.
Can you hear me now, Mayor?
I can hear you. Yes, sir.
Very good.
Good deal. We'll go ahead and call the August 18th, 2020 City Commission meeting to order. It is 7 p.m. and we are meeting virtually tonight. I'd like to welcome everybody and introduce the folks who are on the screen in front of you. From Zone 1, Commissioner Dwight Selby.
Good evening.
Good evening. From Zone 2, our Deputy Mayor and Commissioner Troy Kent.
Good evening, everybody.
Zone 3, Commissioner Susan Persis.
Good evening, everybody.
And Zone 4, Commissioner Rob Littleton. Our staff members who are with us virtually as well, City Manager Joyce Shanahan, Assistant City Manager Claire Whitley, City Attorney Randy Hayes, City Clerk Colby Salento, and behind the scenes staff assisting our Recording Secretary Cassidy Ritz, Public Information Officer Jen Elston, and as always, our IT Director making sure no hiccups in the, or no gremlins in the electronic system. Ned Huta is with us as well. So we will start tonight with the invocation provided by Pastor Jason Holt from Salty Church.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay.
Hey, Pastor Holt, thank you for joining us.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity. Let's pray. God, we just thank you for your goodness. Lord, it's just who you are, that you are good no matter what's going on all around us. God, you're always in control. And God, we're just so grateful for who you are. You know, God, we can't thank you enough to be a part of the Ormond Beach community and blessing us in such a way. And God, for each and every member of this city. And God, I just invite you into this meeting tonight, that you would lead and guide in your wisdom, in your ways, all the decisions, the directions. And God, as you have appointed each and every person here in their positions, God, that you would speak in and through them. Father, we ask for your hand of blessing to continue to stay over this community because, God, you love it more than anyone and you love the people more than anyone. And Father, we just thank you so much for the cross of Jesus Christ, in whose name I pray. Amen.
And thank you, Pastor. We're lucky in Ormond Beach to have a very vibrant faith community, and Salty's a big part of that. A lot of great things happening.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Now we're at audience remarks, and these are regarding items not on the agenda. I'll ask the city clerk if we received any comment cards.
We did not for this segment.
Okay, good deal. So we will move on and move to approval of minutes. We've got two sets. First up is 5A, minutes from the City Commission meeting of July 28th, 2020.
I move approval of the minutes from July 28th, 2020.
I second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Anybody have any additions, deletions, or corrections? If not, if you'll unmute and we'll just do a voice vote on these. All those in favor, if you would, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and we'll show those passing unanimously. We'll move to 5B, minutes from the City Commission meeting of August 4th, 2020.
I'll move the minutes of August 4th, 2020.
Great.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Persis. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? All right, we'll do a voice vote on that one as well. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and we will show those passing unanimously as well. Our next item is a community redevelopment agency item. The City Commission serves as the community redevelopment agent of the city and must review this item and make a recommendation as the CRA. Therefore, we will recess the City Commission meeting and call the CRA meeting to order. As chairman of the CRA, I will open the public hearings and ask our secretary to read 6A.
Resolution number 2020-101, a resolution of the City Commission individually enacting as the Community Redevelopment Agency for the Central Business District and adjacent areas, authorizing the execution of an annual service agreement for Ormond Beach Main Street between the city/agency and Ormond Beach Main Street, Inc. for the promotion of economic, physical, and aesthetic redevelopment and maintenance of the Ormond Beach Main Street District, and setting forth an effective date. This is the resolution number 2020-101, read by title only.
Thank you. And I don't have any cards or requests to speak on this item. Just need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve this for the City Commission.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, or well, let me ask this first. Any further discussion? I will let you know that Julia Truillo, the executive director, is available for questions or comments if anyone has any questions of her.
No, but I'll just make the comment, if I may, that I think this is some of the absolute best money that we can invest. The downtown of Ormond Beach is fantastic. It's the envy of many, many of our neighboring cities and throughout the state of Florida, as well as throughout the entire Southeast. So at less than $1.50 per resident that the city of Ormond Beach contributes to Main Street. It's an amazingly great investment.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Selby. Any other comments? We'll do a voice vote on recommending this to the City Commission for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign, and we'll show that passing unanimously. We will close the public hearings and at this point reconvene the City Commission meeting, and we are on the consent agenda. Colby, were there any requests to speak on the consent agenda or requests?
No, there were not.
Okay. Just need a motion and a second.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second that motion.
Great. Any further discussion? Colby, please call the vote.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes, and that would be the appropriate time if any commissioner wishes to comment on any of the consent agenda items. Commissioner Persis.
Yes, I just wanted to comment on 7E, naming the Limitless Park after Rick Ferrito. I know his family is extremely honored and pleased, as he is, to have this named after him. I went to high school with Rick Ferrito, and he's a great guy. And I just wanted to, say I'm very excited and thrilled for Rick and his family. And I'm also really excited about a lot of things on the consent agenda, but I love doing things for our fire department. And I'm very excited that there is a grant for the fire department from Homeland Security so they can get some more equipment that they need.
Good stuff. Commissioner Selby.
Thank you, Mayor. You beat me to the punch on both of those, Commissioner Persis. But I also wanted to just bring attention to the school resource officer that we've renewed the agreement with the Volusia County School Board to provide a school resource officer at approximately $20,000 a year where we're splitting that cost for Ormond Middle School. That's a fantastic program that obviously Commissioner Vice Mayor Kent knows intimately well. Also wanted to mention, in the past, I have items F and G are the voluntary cost of living increases for grounds maintenance. Our contracts with Yellowstone do not provide for automatic increases. They are at the request of the contractor. And I was very pleased. I did not pull these from the agenda to vote against them, primarily because the cost of living this year is less than 1%, 0.64%, which equals $14,000 on $2.2 million of contracts. And I think Yellowstone does a fabulous job. And so therefore I support this and did in fact vote for it. And then relative to Commissioner Persis, when you talked about the fire department grant, there was also a grant for the police where they're acquiring 5 more of the radar feedback signs, the ones that tell us how fast we're going, which I think are great. And I was not aware that they have memory in them and they track the speed of the vehicles as they pass, and they can hold that memory for up to a year. And I guess, the only other comment I wanted to make was relative to item O, where we are doing an RFP for process control system equipment and instrument services related to public works, water and wastewater. And that's anticipated to be a $320,000 expenditure out of the enterprise fund for water and wastewater. And I just, for anybody who, for people who are just sort of casually listening in, we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars pretty much every meeting on maintaining and improving our water and wastewater systems, our public utilities, which clearly is one of the 2 or 3 highest priorities of any municipality. And with that, that's it. Those are my comments.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Selby. Anyone else? We will start with public hearings, and I will open the public hearings. This is item 8A, and ask the city clerk to read that by title only.
Ordinance number 2020-38, an ordinance amending paragraph C, official zoning map of section 2-01, established of Article 1, establishment of zoning districts and official zoning map of chapter 2, district and general regulations of the City of Ormond Beach Land Development Code, by amending the official zoning map to rezone real property as a result of the comprehensive plan amendments that implemented the provisions of the first amended interlocal service boundary agreement, ISBA, between the City of Ormond Beach and the County of Volusia, authorizing revision of the official zoning map, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2020-38, read by title only.
Thank you. I do not have any cards or other requests to speak. Just need a motion in a second.
Yeah, Mayor, I'll move ordinance number 2020-38.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Kent. Any further discussion? This is a second reading. Seeing nothing else, please call the vote.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes, and we will move to 8B.
Ordinance number 2020-39, an ordinance amending paragraph C, official zoning map of section 2-01, established of Article 1, establishment of zoning districts and official zoning map of chapter 2, district and general regulations of the City of Ormond Beach Land Development Code, by amending the official zoning map to rezone certain real property totaling 0.18 plus or minus acres located at 806 Cordova Avenue, from Volusia County R5 urban single family residential to Ormond Beach R3 single family medium density, authorizing revision of official zoning map, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2020-39, read by title only.
Thank you, Colby. I have no cards.
Move approval.
I'll second the motion.
Great. Any other discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. And 8C.
Ordinance number 2020-40, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Ormond Beach, Florida, vacating a portion of Pineland Trail east of Interstate 95, abutting Volusia County parcel number 3136-01-74-0010, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, providing for recordation and transmittal, and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2020-40, read by title only.
Thank you. I don't have any cards.
Move approval of ordinance number 2020-40.
Second.
Great. Thank you. Any further discussion? Colby, please call the vote.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. 8D.
Ordinance number 2020-41, an ordinance amending the City of Ormond Beach Land Development Code by amending Chapter 1, General Administration, Article 3, Definitions and Acronyms, Section 1-22, Definitions of Terms and Words, Chapter 2, District and General Regulations, Article 2, District Regulations, Section 2-22B1, Professional Office/Hospital, Section 2-25B4, Central Business, Section 2-26B5, Service Commercial, Section 2-28B7, Highway Tourist Commercial, Section 2-29B8, Commercial, Section 2-30B9, Boulevard, and Section 2-31B10, Suburban Boulevard, and Chapter 2, District and General Regulations. Article 4, Conditional and Special Exception Regulation, Section 2-57, Criteria for Review of Specific Conditional and Special Exception to provide definitions and regulations for cosmetic tattooing, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, providing for severability, and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2020-41, read by title only.
Thank you, Colby. I have no cards.
I'll move for approval ordinance number 2020-41.
Second.
Perfect. Any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. And 8E.
Ordinance number 2020-42, an ordinance amending Article 12, Body Illustrations, Tattooing of Chapter 12, Business Regulations of the Code of Ordinances by deleting Section 12-376, Medical or Dental Supervision, and deleting Section 12-377, Business Tax Receipt Required, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, providing for severability, and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2020-42, read by title only.
Very well. No cards.
I move approval of ordinance number 2020-42.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. And 8F.
Ordinance number 2020-43, an ordinance amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan of the City of Ormond Beach by amending the future land use map to change the designation of one parcel of real property totaling 3.42 plus or minus acres located at 40 North Timber Creek Road, Volusia County Property Appraiser parcel number 4125-00-00-0223 from Volusia County Environmental System Corridor, ESC, and Urban Low Intensity ULI to Ormond Beach Open Space / Conservation OSC, providing for conflict, authorizing transmittal, and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2020-43, read by title only.
Thank you, Colby. I have no cards.
Move approval.
Thank you.
Second the motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Littleton. Any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes, thank you. And now we are on staff action items. 9A, special event permitting. And we will start this action item with some background information from Planning Director Stephen Spraker. There's Stephen. Good evening. I do have screen sharing, but I'm not hearing Stephen.
About that.
There, he was on mute.
All right.
Gotcha.
So the purpose of this staff action item is to obtain the city commission direction on special event activities on private property, primarily along the North US 1 corridor, following up on a discussion from the July 28, 2020 meeting. Their city has three primary special event permitting types. The first is along that North US 1 corridor. This is part of the interlocal service boundary agreement with Volusia County. It is regulated by Section 2-87 of the Land Development Code. The special event activities include itinerant vendors, food trucks, and outdoor entertainment. We also have special events on private property. This could be on houses of worship, churches, the Prince of Peace. Their festival in October, which they have canceled, would be an example of that. And then the last one is special events on public property, which this item isn't really pertaining to. Next slide, please. This is a table that was in the packet, and these are the properties that are special event host properties that have permits over the last year. So many of these properties have been doing special events since we annexed them in either through the interlocal service boundary agreement or actually annex them into the city. Next slide, please. In preparing the discussion item, there was a realization that special events are very important to the city of Ormond Beach. It does provide financial support to the local businesses. Since the COVID pandemic has started in March 16th, the city hasn't issued any special event permits on private property. The city has relied on the Centers of Disease Control, state and county health departments, national, state, and county governments to make decisions on how we do actions and permitting. As part of the packet, we provided one of the master host permit applications in which they have provided guidelines in order to seek to provide social distancing and to allow the issuance of the special event permit. We have, I believe, 3 entities that have applied for this October. The health, safety, and welfare of the Ormond Beach citizens and visitors is the main priority with this action item. With the governor's executive orders and the city's ordinance, they all seek to limit events that promote the congregation of large groups of people. And the step is a precautionary one to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Next slide, please. These are the state of Florida positivity rates over the last 2 weeks. It includes the percentage positive and also the number of negatives and positives. So it kind of gives you an idea of where the cases are going within the state of Florida. Next slide, please. This provides some additional information. It provides the cases, the new cases, the hospitalizations and deaths within the state of Florida. It also provides some demographics. So if you had questions, we can always come back to this. And then the next slide, please. These are the same results broken down for Volusia County. Again, it shows the percent positive over the last 2 weeks, the number of negative cases and the number of positive cases. And next slide, please. This again shows all the cases In Volusia County, the new case is based on 817, the hospitalizations and the deaths, again, providing the demographics of the cases within Volusia County. Next slide, please. Staff's recommendation for the properties in the North US 1 corridor and for those special events on private property is to continue not issuing special event permits until the end of the calendar year or until the governor issues the phase 3 reopening order for the state of Florida, whichever comes first. This would not prevent businesses who have normal day-to-day activities such as retail, restaurants, dealerships from doing their normal indoor activity. The focus is really the outdoor itinerant vendors, the food trucks, and the outdoor entertainment. Staff is available for any questions, and I believe there are a few people who'd like to speak to the commission.
Correct. Stephen, we do have at least 3 speakers, people who have filled out cards and wish to address the commission. Commission, your preference, if you have questions for Stephen now, I'm happy to allow some questioning now, or we can wait till we've heard from our 3 speakers, and then prior to our full discussion, if you have any questions for Stephen at that time, we can do that. I'm seeing heads nodding for that. Good deal. We'll do that then. And City Clerk, I think, if I recall correctly, it was Dean Pepe, John Kratz, and Brian Holt were the speakers.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, if you would bring them up one at a time, of course.
For those on the line that are going to speak, you're each going to be provided with 3 minutes to make your comments. There will be a timer counting down the time. When the time's up, we'll hear a bell alarm sound. You will be unmuted before your time begins and then placed back. So our first speaker is going to be Dean Pepe. Mr. Pepe, you can speak when you're ready.
Good evening. My name's Dean Pepe, General Counsel of Destination Daytona. As you know, Biketoberfest is one of the most financially significant revenue generators that occurs in our city every year. The event represents millions of dollars to our businesses along the North US 1 corridor, employees, residents, and to our city. We have filed our host itinerant license application for Biketoberfest with detailed COVID-19 measures. Our plan is a general outline of the 9-page guideline for large gatherings that's provided by the CDC. We are 100% committed to implementing these measures to promote proper distancing, use of masks, and good hygiene. Please realize that Biketoberfest will happen and people will come. We can do it safely, but in order to do so, we need time to plan to get the word out that measures will be in place and that we expect attendees to comply with the measures. Exceptions have been made for large gatherings, including at Disney World and concerts at Daytona Bandshell, because they've implemented the measures we plan to use also. The outside vendors are critical. Significant revenue comes from the 80 to 100 vendors located outdoors on our private property. Our 15 businesses, roughly 500 employees, and condo owners rely on attendees attracted by the outside motorcycle vendors. Allowing the vendors outside will actually promote proper distancing because it gives attendees the opportunity to spread out on our property. Remember, close contact is defined as someone within 6 feet for 15 minutes. Our plan is to limit this exposure. I would be remiss if I did not point out something obvious to all of us. The data about this illness is unreliable, too unreliable to thwart our efforts to conduct a significant event in a safe manner. Just last week, Governor DeSantis expressly cautioned all local leaders around the state that there are limitations to the statewide data, to be cautious relying on the data, and he also instructed the Florida Department of Health to clean up data issues. Even if you believe and look carefully at our local data, the numbers are small and dropping and do not indicate that we are in a crisis mode as sometimes portrayed in the media, especially if you remove the nursing home and prison stats that occurred early on. Safety is important and life is precious, but the statistics do not justify stifling this 4-day outdoor event that generates millions of dollars that we need, especially this year. Also, experts have repeatedly said there's a significant risk to health caused by furthering the financial crisis. People will be coming for the event, so please allow us to do it safely as possible by permitting the outdoor vendors who will help with distancing attendees on our private property. Please don't underestimate the critical need for the income that businesses and employees make during these events that carry them through the entire year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pepe. And now I believe John Krotz is the next speaker.
Yes. Mr. Krotz, you can speak when you're ready.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, your staff, and to the council. My name is John Krotz. I'm the manager of J&P Cycles located at 253 Destination Daytona Lane. J&P Cycles, along with other businesses at Destination Daytona, have always made the effort to overplan our events, ensuring we are looking out for the community, our employees, and the safety of our guests. I'm glad we're having this meeting today because just last week, we were able to collect some real data that proves that when you have time to plan and organize, we can make an event safe for everyone without the risk of doing more economic damage than what has already been dealt with. Last week ended one of the oldest and the most attended rallies in America in Sturgis, South Dakota. J&P Cycles has always participated in this event, or at least for the past few decades, using a similar format that we do here in Ormond Beach at Destination Daytona. What we witnessed in Sturgis over the past couple of weeks has been incredible. Although originally the crowds were expected to top 1 million in attendance, we only saw about 25% of that come in. Although the attendance was down, the visitors that did come to town came to spend their money. Sales were slightly higher for us over last year despite the smaller crowd. Now, the outer lining towns, the venues that are known for big concerts, late night parties were actually quiet in the evenings as the crowds did not seem to show up, or they chose to stay away from large gatherings. All the vendors that attended at our location even commented that prior to coming to the event, they were a little skeptical because of the news of COVID and what possibly could happen. But in the end, whenever we got the results, we had required all of our employees when they returned back to work, they had to take COVID tests, and they cannot return back to their office until they prove to be negative and without illness. Saying that, we've had 50 employees that we put to work in Sturgis. There was an additional 30 vendors and mechanics that were working. And to this day, we still have not heard of anybody being sick, ill, or coming back with a positive COVID test. I think this stands to show how effective the processes to socially distance, wear a mask, all proved to be effective. In addition, Daytona Chamber of Commerce has made the decision not to promote Biketoberfest as in the past. Same with what Sturgis did, and this does call for lower attendance, making the crowds easier to manage. But what we do know is your enthusiasts are still going to show up without fail. And without the ability to set up our vendors, we're forcing tourists to go into the buildings and the establishments that are not equipped to handle the crowds. Also, the traffic, the parking direction, proper planning, the traffic's going to create havoc for the community. So we just ask that you please consider this as an opportunity to make the community safer.
Thank you, Mr. Krotz. And next we have Brian Holt.
Mr. Holt, you can speak when you're ready. We're trying to get him.
Hello?
There you go. Go ahead,
Mr.
Mr.
Holt?
Holt.
Yep, go ahead.
Hey, good evening, Mayor and City Commission. I am the Special Event Marketing Sponsorship Director for Biker Clothing Apparel, which is located at Destination Daytona, Ormond Beach. We have leased the property since day one, some 14 years ago. Special events like Biketoberfest and Bike Week are a major source of revenue for the company. Not having an event would be absolutely devastating to our company and our future in Ormond. Biker Clothing Apparel just participated in Sturgis Rally with some 11 locations. We followed guidelines concerning the amount of people in our tents at one time. We had hand sanitizer in every location available and had signage posted. Plenty of room for patrons to feel socially distanced and comfortable. My company also markets and places vendors at Boot Hill Outpost in Ormond Beach for the rally. The owner has spent a very large sum of money to get Boot Hill open and participate in special events. The property has plenty of room to social distance. In fact, 99% of the attendance is held outside without any crowding whatsoever. There have been other outdoor special events with vendors in other parts of the country during this pandemic. For example, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, Battlefield Harley-Davidson, Gator Harley-Davidson, in Leesburg, Florida, Rapid City Harley, and Rapid City, South Dakota. Have all had special events, whether it's daily, weekends, or a full 12 days like Harley-Davidson in Rapid City. The riders, patrons want to get out and enjoy fresh air, support local businesses in a safe way. Biketoberfest attendance, normal times is somewhere around, let's say, 100,000 people. Say 60,000 attend for this year's rally. We divide that by four days, 15,000 a day. Divide that into the amount of venues there are. The Speedway, Cabbage Patch, Beaver Bar, Main Street, Destination Daytona, Iron Horse, Boot Hill, Outpost, Flagler Beach, and several more venues. The point being, this event is spread out within a very large radius of miles. It's very likely social distancing can be achieved with not one venue being overwhelmed with patrons. At some point, we have to take a hard look at the business side of this pandemic and give that issue some real thought of what a non-event would mean to our business community. Let's have an event, follow guidelines, and do this in a safe and common manner, and work together with government and local business. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brian. And finally, Commission, there were written comments submitted by Mr. Bay, and I was going to ask the city clerk just to read those into the record. So unless everybody received them and read them, I wasn't sure if she had forwarded those. Colby, just to be safe, if you would read those, they're not very long.
Sure. Honorable members of the City Commission of the City of Ormond Beach. My comments on Biketoberfest event scheduled for approximately October 12th through 15th, 2020. Commissioners et al. My name is William Bay, resident of Ormond Beach since 1970 and master host for special events currently. Operating biker events at 1065 US 1 Ormond Beach since 1998. In my opinion, it is difficult and probably 90% impossible to police the wearing of face masks, even if bars were closed during the event. Also, if concerts were eliminated, which is another risk as well. My opinion is to not allow permits for vendors and not issue master host permits until later in October 2020. To allow this Biketoberfest event creates huge virus liabilities for visitors as well as our local residents. Thanks, William Bay.
Thank you. And at this time, we'll open it up for discussion by the commission and any questions for the planning director. Who'd like to start? Commissioner Persis. Commissioner Persis, if you would unmute there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I just want to thank all the people that spoke in regard to this issue, Mr. Bay, Mr. Pepe, Mr. Kratz, and Mr. Holt. I appreciate all the comments. And I guess I have to say that I I'm against having the vendors because I really do not want the city of Ormond Beach to be responsible for anyone's illness or death because of, vendors and people getting too close to each other during Bike Week. I do believe that that the numbers are correct. I believe we're getting accurate information about COVID, and there's a lot of illness and sickness out there. It's very scary for a lot of people. And I think if we don't stop now the spread of COVID-19, we're never going to get back to normal. We're not back to normal yet. So Bike Week and Biketoberfest, that's kind of a normal activity. We're just not quite there yet. And I'm hoping the numbers will start going down. They may have started going down just a little bit, but I am not comfortable. I am not in favor of this because, like I said, I just don't want the city to be responsible for anyone to be ill or get sick here or die. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Persis. Commissioner Selby.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I actually, under certain circumstances, could support allowing the issuance of special event permits. Number one, I think that anybody who is issued one should be CDC compliant. They should follow all of the guidelines that are out there. Outside vendors, the beauty of, especially, it's really easy to think about it at Destination Daytona because they have such a large land area that actually the outside vendors, we got to begin with the fact that motorcycle enthusiasts are going to come to our area for Biketoberfest, whether it's advertised or not. They're going to come, and so they're going to be visiting the places in our city and throughout the greater area. And if there are not outside exhibitors, what's going to happen is more people are going to end up inside buildings. And that's actually less healthy than being outside and spread out. So I listened to the words of Mr. Pepe, and I need to mention that I did have a phone conversation. I reached out to Mr. Pepe earlier in the week, and I had a phone conversation with him earlier today. I know Brian Holt. I've known him for several years. I have not met Mr. Kratz, and I also know Mr. Bay. I haven't spoken to him in many years, but the financial impact also, I'm very concerned about the negative financial impact of not allowing these activities to happen. There are an awful lot of people, and I'm sure all of us know folks who make extra money during these special events, and especially during Bike Week because of the longevity of it, but also during Biketoberfest, it's become a pretty important economic generator, not just for the businesses, but for a lot of local residents who work as clerks or bartenders or other positions during the special event. And I guess, the other thing that occurred to me was that, we approved the special exception, I guess it was, for the Boot Hill Saloon up on North US 1. And they spent a ton of money. We all acknowledge that they have done a really good job. And here's, one of the two big events during the year that they could generate some business from. And that's why I think it's really important that we do this. I think this can be done in a safe way. And for that reason, I would support it.
Thank you, Commissioner Selby. Commissioner Littleton.
Thank you, Mayor. In the last couple of weeks, I've thought long and hard about this. And as I've taken a step out of a role in government, I realized people have been dealing with COVID for several months. They're aware of the CDC recommendations. There's less unknowns with the virus. And people do know the risk. It's throughout our society. And we are speaking about adults in this matter. And I believe through the information that's been given out through governments and various agencies. The citizens and other tourists can make this choice themselves. So if they want to take the risk, they ought to be allowed to. So I am for issuing the special permitting for Biketoberfest.
Thank you, Commissioner Littleton. Deputy Mayor Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Spraker, just a couple of questions. Are bars open yet in the state of Florida? You're muted, Mr. Spraker.
No, not yet.
What's the capacity at restaurants right now? Do you know off the top of your head?
I believe they're 50% with allowance for outdoor seating.
Right. And how are we going to be the COVID police during this very worthwhile event?
We would do our best through code enforcement, police, and state agencies to ensure that they are complying with CDC regulations and city regulations.
So do we know that we have, well, we might not because staff's waiting on this elected body's decision, but I'm not going to have you answer this question, but I would think that staff, if we did approve this, would have a plan in place with the police department, code enforcement, other agencies to be that COVID police. I think that what I've heard from all of the commissioners makes a ton of sense to me. It really does. I mean, Commissioner Persis, I think you bring up some really valid points. Bars are not open right now. Restaurants are at 50% right now. And Commissioner Selby and Commissioner Littleton, I purposely wanted to wait to hear what everyone had to say, because one of the many things I love about this job and this elected body is that our minds are not made up until we hear all of the information. And, you know, I often get swayed by what I hear from each of you. And I look at you, some of you, as experts in specific fields. You know, I always lean towards the mayor whenever there's a law question. And Commissioner Persis, she and I with something with dealing with education and leadership. And Commissioner Littleton with a small business. And Commissioner Selby with small and larger businesses. So each of us have those special talents. But I'll just say I'm leaning right now a lot to where Commissioner Selby and Littleton are in the fact that Commissioner Littleton, I think you said it succinctly, with these guidelines have been in place for quite some time. People know the guidelines. They know the risk. I can tell you right now, my family and I, we are huge fans of the bike events. We have a great time. We go to Biketoberfest and Bike Week. And it's for us, it's a fun family time. And I say family because, you know, we pick and choose where we go and when we go. We take our son Wyatt. You know, don't know that I'll be doing that, you know, this time. So I'm not 100% there with you. I haven't heard the mayor yet. I'd like to hear what he has to say, and if staff has anything else as well. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Kent. And I certainly understand both sides of the argument as well. I appreciate hearing from the Destination Daytona community. They did an excellent job. And Mr. Kratz, struck me what he said about Sturgis, that normally they have 1 million people out there in South Dakota. This year they had a quarter of that turnout. And I think it's clear, I think everybody would agree, we're not promoting or condoning any kind of events, public or private, as a commission or as a city, just like the chamber isn't. They've decided not to do that this year. They stepped back from doing that. I don't believe we are. Any of you individually can correct me if I'm wrong, but certainly nothing on public property and probably nothing that we would be promoting or encouraging people to gather in any place on private or public property. I kind of don't feel like we have to make this decision tonight. And I know staff feels some pressure from people looking for permits who want to get things lined up in advance, but I like the idea of waiting and continuing to watch the numbers. The numbers right now are encouraging, the way that they're trending. I think I'd like to see below a 5% positivity rate for at least 14 days before we would be amenable to issuing any kind of permit. And I would just tell the people that are clamoring for a permit, guess what? You may not know until the October 6th commission meeting, which is 8 days before Biketoberfest starts, if my numbers are correct. I think it's October 15th through the 18th this year. You may not know until the very last minute whether we're going to approve anything or not. That way they can be ready to go at a moment's notice. And that might be the safest way. The governor may put us into phase 3 by then, and then we're off the hook either way. But I just think it's better to be safer than to do anything that would promote or encourage big crowds. And I also, not only for the people that might come to those events, but also for our staff, police and fire, that have to respond out there to those potential big crowds of a few hundred people where they could become infected. I don't really think it's fair to them to put them into that situation. They're just doing their jobs, and yet here we put them at risk further. So my inclination would be, which probably may frustrate staff a little bit, but I would kick the can down the road, and we can address it at each commission meeting. There's 3 between now and when Biketoberfest would happen, with a 7-day cushion. And if we're in phase 3 by the second meeting in September, then it's not even an issue anymore. But I don't want to do tonight anything that would promote it, and I may be outvoted based on what I've heard, but I would just encourage waiting, hoping that the numbers continue to do what they've been doing. And then if we do ultimately approve something, do it in a way that is includes all the proper restrictions for whatever phase we are in, including the mask up, back up, wash up, all the social distancing things that we thought we had done at the beginning of June, but apparently hadn't done well enough. We kind of got relaxed, and then we saw the numbers explode again. That's what I want to avoid, is a second recurrence like that, if at all possible. So those are my thoughts. It's an open discussion, and Commissioner Persis and then Deputy Mayor Kent.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask staff, what are our sister cities doing? Do we know right now? Holly Hill, Daytona, New Smyrna, DeLand, all those cities.
We know that Port Orange has canceled the Biketober events. We know that Daytona Beach is looking to make a decision on the 9th of September. I haven't contacted New Smyrna Beach, so I'm not sure where they are today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Kent.
Thank you, Mayor. When I saw this on the agenda, I actually thought the same thing you did, Mayor, which was I get why the business community, they want some answers right now. I mean, they'd like to know some definitive things. I get that. But my hope was that we would be able, and I wouldn't call this kicking the can down the road. I would say making a very well-informed, healthy decision when we have better facts. I am leaning more towards allowing this to happen, but tonight I'll be voting, as long as there's a third person, to postpone this until we have more information. Mr. Spraker, is that, what kind of problem does that give staff, or does it not give staff a problem?
At this point, it doesn't give staff a problem. We'd probably like to get something maybe by September 23rd. That way we can have police and code enforcement gear up if it's going to be allowed. But tonight it doesn't give us any issue at all.
Okay, that's comforting to hear. Actually, that's a good thing. And I think really, if push comes to shove, I think we could go all the way to October 6th, Mayor, if that was the date I thought you heard. I prefer we don't go that far, but that's where I am right now.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Commissioner Selby.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I hear what you all are saying. But I think you got to look at this from the perspective of the business community. To hold off a decision until just less than a week before the event is effectively a no. That is just a no, because at that point, you heard Dean Pepe say they have as many as 80 vendors. Those people can't turn on a dime like that. If they don't know in advance, they've got to order the material, they got to line up the people to work it, they have to rent their facilities, they got to rent vehicles, they have to provide housing and accommodations for those, they have to put down deposits, the work that's involved, the advanced preparation would really make it impossible for the private sector to respond in a meaningful way without proper advance notice. The other thing that I think is really important about this is I think what we're forgetting is that I don't know that our decision one way or another will actually impact the turnout for the event. I mean, I don't know that there's very many people sitting up in Chicago saying, well, if they're not going to have those T-shirt vendors outside at the Iron Horse, I'm not coming. I don't think that enters into the decision-making process. So the people who are going to come to Daytona Beach, to the greater Daytona Beach area for Biketoberfest, are coming either way. And the more advance notice that the master hosts have, the better off they are, because they can tell all their vendors and they can tell all their visitors that, hey, these are the rules that you're going to have to operate under. If you're coming to Biketoberfest, you are going to have to mask up. You are going to have to socially separate. Here are the things we're going to be doing differently. And that, by the way, could temper the crowd as much as anything. I mean, knowing in advance that it's not going to be wide open, that there are going to be restrictions, limitations, and it's going to be done in a safe way, I think is really, really important. And I think what it does is it puts us in a leadership position. I'm sure all of you have heard, like I did, that Sturgis took some heat for, let's say, not operating as safely as they could have. I would love for our event to be known as the really safe biker event. So again, I think I really don't see where the only thing that might change between now and whenever, early October, is we might end up in phase 3. But other than that, which we don't control anyway, other than that, I don't think anything changes. I think it's just a question of whether or not we want to do this and whether or not we want our master host to do this in a COVID compliant, CDC compliant way or not. So again, I'm perfectly comfortable giving that direction to staff tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Selby. Commissioner Littleton.
A question for Mr. Spraker. Mr. Spraker, how fast can we pull a permit? Like, take it away.
How fast can we take it away? I might need a city attorney to give me some help on that one. I believe you have to have some basis of why you're pulling the permit. I mean, if you're issuing the permit, people are making reliances on that permit to do, all the vendor stuff they're seeking to do. So I might need some help from Randy on that one.
Okay.
Randy, you want to weigh in on that, or?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. This is going to be a challenge, to be quite honest with you. It's your decision to make. I think we all need to understand that the guidelines are voluntary. So you're really going to be relying on voluntary compliance. There's really no effective enforcement mechanism, mandatory enforcement mechanism. This is a short event. The two mechanisms we might have would be code enforcement. The process for that, of course, would not be suitable for an event such as this of a short duration. If there were serious violations of any regulations, then theoretically we could look to some injunctive relief from the circuit court. That's not a assured fix either. There's a process for that. It would be completely dependent on established criteria that would travel with the permit. And I think that's the challenge the city staff is going to have in issuing permits, because the guidelines are simply voluntary guidelines. So, you know, if you choose to authorize the issuance of the permits, then I think probably need to have an understanding that it's likely not going to have a good enforcement mechanism.
Okay. Thank you. So when Daytona, do you know when Daytona pulled the permits earlier this year, what was their authority to do that?
Well,
if you had to take a guess.
They operate under a different system down there. I can tell you that, and I remember that night because I was up until about midnight that night on the phone with the mayor and our city manager. I do not believe that the attempt by Daytona to pull the permits on the eve of the last day of the event was successful. I'm pretty confident in that. I can't really opine as to the underlying authority by which it was done. I'm just not familiar with their regulations down there.
Thank you. I would think if we held off, one or two things really are going to happen. Either we would see a spike in cases and a percentage of positive results, in which people might be hesitant or scared to come to the events anyways, or we would see a drop in results, and hence any permits we issue would be fine because the results are dropping anyways. So I wouldn't want to put more burdens on local businesses or uncertainty on local businesses at this point. The virus is doing that bad enough. That's my opinion. So I would prefer to make a decision tonight.
Understood. I was looking at the calendar again. It's 3 weeks and 1 day until our next meeting in September. And a lot can happen in 3 weeks. If we were able to make a decision on the 9th, then there'd be 5 weeks between that meeting and the Biketoberfest event, 5 weeks and 1 day, which would be a decent amount of time. So I'd be inclined to continue it at least until September 9th. If we vote on it tonight, I would say no, but if we can reassess it in 3 weeks, things change, situations change, and I might be more comfortable moving forward with it at that point, but I'm just one vote. So whatever the commission's pleasure is.
I would agree with the mayor and say, I think we could wait and see what happens with the numbers. I think the numbers are still not good enough to make me feel very comfortable. And the other thing that makes me uncomfortable is that we would have our law enforcement spending time, you know, just watching for people gathering in crowds and not wearing masks and so forth, when there's a lot of other things they need to be attending to in the city. So I'm with you, Mayor. I would like to wait maybe till our next meeting, which is what, September 8th or 9th, something like that. I think it's a Wednesday.
Right. Is that a motion, Commissioner?
Yes, I make that motion.
Okay, and Deputy Mayor Kent.
Commissioner Selby, what you said stuck with me the last time you talked. What is the major impediment you see if we were to wait until September 9th, which is 5 weeks before this event? Is there something that jumps out at you that at that point calls this a non-event? You know, your comment about someone in Chicago saying, I'm not coming because I can't buy a t-shirt, it resonated with me. And so I want to hear from you for that. And then the follow-up question for either Randy or Steven Spraker, which is, we don't issue these permits for our vendors, we can't do anything about the people that are still going to come from around our country and worldwide for this event. Correct or incorrect? That's the second part, but I want to hear from Commissioner Selby first.
Well, I think the first thing is the decision of a potential visitor to come to our area for Biketoberfest will not be impacted by whether or not Daytona, Port Orange, New Smyrna, Ormond Beach, DeLand, any of us issue these special event permits. It's irrelevant. It doesn't enter into their thought process. So the number of people who are coming is already in the mix. It's already in the works because people are already making plans to come or not come. And they're going to, if they're coming, they're coming. And if they don't have areas to spread out in, if we don't have these outside vendors and these outside activities, then more people end up in buildings. I also should mention that Mr. Pepe told me that he has the ability under his master permit to do outside tents as it is. I mean, he can do them himself. He can't do 80, he wouldn't do 80, but he could do many outside. So that activity can happen either way. The other thing is that these are big. You got a lot of moving parts if you're one of these vendors, and in order to the T-shirts as an example are custom printed with Biketoberfest 2020 on them. Well, that stuff has to be made in advance. It doesn't just arrive. You know what I'm saying? So all of the preparation necessary to be a vendor at this event, at our event, needs sufficient lead time. How much lead time? I don't know. Is 5 weeks enough? I don't know. But my thought is, what's going to be different? What are we going to have? Oh, and by the way, September 9th is going to be a pretty full agenda. We already have several other topics that'll be on that agenda. If you guys looked at the planning department's Stephen Spraker's email on what's coming up there. So it'll be a long meeting with a lot of public comment on other issues. So from my perspective, not much is going to change other than potentially, we'll get into phase 3. And so therefore, I'm comfortable making this decision now. I don't see where, I think the numbers are good enough for our master hosts to do it in a responsible manner. The fact that the guidelines are going to be voluntary anyway, that's the same now or in 5 weeks. That doesn't change. That's going to be the same either way. So I don't know. I think we got all adults that are visiting us. And again, I think the other big thing I think that really, and I stated it earlier, but I'll say it again, is that the more advanced time we can give the vendors, the master hosts, so that they know the rules that they're playing by, the better they can communicate that to their visitors, and the more prepared those visitors will be for that, and the easier it will be to enforce that or to have it play out. Enforce is maybe too strong of a word, but to have it play out appropriately.
Gotcha. And Mayor, thanks for the latitude, and Commissioner Selby, thank you for your input on that issue. And Planning Director or our City Attorney, that second part, just so that I hear it, and it's on the public record. We could say no to vendors, but people from around the world can still show up for Biketoberfest and do their thing, correct?
Correct. They still have businesses that are allowed to operate, whether it be a restaurant, dealership, or a retail establishment.
Right. I'll yield now. I saw Commissioner Persis, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, Commissioner Persis.
My concern, I just want to say, let's say you're at Destination Daytona, only 50% of people can go in there. I mean, it can only be 50% capacity. So I'm not sure why, Commissioner Selby, why you're concerned that everybody would be inside, because only a certain number of people could be inside. I mean, that's the rule right now. So, and T-shirts, I mean, in the school system, you can get t-shirts made, so fast. I mean, there's all kinds of vendors that make t-shirts. So it's not like you don't need 7 or 8 weeks to get t-shirts made. I just think we don't know. This could get worse. It could get worse. I hope it doesn't. And that's my dearest hope. But I am just very concerned about people's safety. And that's how I'm basing my decision, on the safety of people. And I certainly want our businesses to succeed. Born and raised here, I don't want to see any business fail because we don't have Bike Week, but I think people will still come. They're going to come. There just may not be vendors outside. And I don't think that's a horrible thing. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world if we don't have vendors. So I would be willing to wait if that's what the commission would like to do and see what happens in a few weeks, definitely. But if we're voting tonight, I can't vote for it.
Thank you, Commissioner Persis. And your motion is still out there as far as continuing it to the first meeting in September. I don't know if there was a second or not. If not, it'll
No.
actually, let me pass the gavel over to Deputy Mayor Kent, and I will second your motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion on this issue that's before us?
I'll just say, I don't want to do anything that, with the numbers where they are right now, anything that would further promote this event. I know Commissioner Selby says it doesn't matter because the guy in Ohio on his couch is coming or not coming, no matter what anybody says. So, if you have a lawless mentality and you're just going to come down and do whatever you want to do, whatever we say doesn't matter to you, that's fine. But I don't want to be a part of promoting something when the numbers are not where they should be. If we're in phase 3 and the numbers are trending well, then that's fantastic. I don't really have a problem with it. And I'd say rock on with wide open fun in Daytona Beach, Ormond Beach, Volusia County, Florida. But if Daytona hasn't approved it yet and other cities have said they're not going to approve it, for one city to say, yes, we're going to open it up and it's going to be a blast and come on down, you're turning on the green light for everybody. That sounds like a bad idea to me. And so I won't approve that at this point with the numbers where they are. So I'll be a yes vote to continue and a no vote to approve anything at this time, just based on the numbers. Commissioner Littleton. Or I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor, you have the gavel.
Mayor, it's okay. And I would have said the exact same thing. So Commissioner Littleton.
Can I get clarification? This motion's to continue it to the September 9th meeting? To continue the discussion? That's
Correct.
That's what I understood.
Thank you.
Commissioner Selby.
Deputy Mayor, thank you. I feel like I may not have been very clear in my earlier comments. I do not view this as an invitation to be wide open, do whatever you want, engage in lawlessness, et cetera, et cetera. The point I was trying to make was that whether or not outside exhibitors are allowed, I think has no bearing whatsoever in the decision-making process of those people who are planning to come to Daytona Beach to the greater Daytona Beach area for Biketoberfest. So, and the reason I say that is that X number of people, I don't know how many they are, but if it's 25%, if our ratio is the same as Sturgis, if it's 25% of however many came last year, those people are already going to come either way. So I think that the prudent thing to do is to give the master hosts as much advance notice as possible, and that would be tonight, so that they can get the word out to their vendors and also to their visitors what the rules of engagement, what the operating procedures are going to be during Biketoberfest this fall. So I apologize if I wasn't clear on what I was saying. Because I definitely don't support lawlessness or breaking rules or anything else. And nor, of course, do I want to put anybody in danger. But on the other hand, I also, we've got a lot of people out there in the private sector who are really hurting. They're still hurting. Thank goodness we have this eviction prohibition going on, this foreclosure, inability to process foreclosures, because we're going to see a ton of those coming in once there's a huge backlog in that. And there's going to be a lot of people who are hurting. And this money that could be made during that time may help some of those people and may make their lives, may steady their lives, which otherwise, if we, this could be the difference for a lot of families. So I'm prepared to say yes, and I'm prepared to vote no on the motion that's on the floor.
Thank you, Commissioner Selby. Any other comments? Okay, I'll just say this is the longest item we've had tonight, and it is obvious because we needed a healthy discussion about this. And this commission cares about the health, safety, and welfare of our residents and our visitors alike. I, for one, do not believe that postponing this until September 5th is going to be extremely detrimental. I believe with Commissioner Persis, they'll be able to get shirts turned around in record time, and it will give us a better view. I will be voting yes on this motion that's before us. So City Clerk Colby Salento, would you please call the question?
Commissioner Selby,
No.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
No.
Mayor Partington,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kent.
Yes, and I pass the gavel back to Mayor Partington.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And that brings us to reports, suggestions, and requests. And we'll start with City Manager Joyce Shanahan. There she is.
September 9th, because our meeting is.
Joyce, I can hardly hear you
Okay,
for some reason.
can you hear me now?
A little better, but it's very faint.
Oh, geez Louise. I don't know if anybody can help me. Can you help me, Colby? How's that?
Still just needs to come up a little bit. I wonder if we went to the assistant city manager, or if you could take a minute and switch computers or something like that. I'm worried about the playback. If anybody wants to listen to this meeting on the YouTube version, that they might not be able to hear you.
How's this now?
That's much better, actually.
Oh, very good. Okay, I'm back. I can't see you all, but I'm talking.
Okay.
So your next meeting is September 9th, because you have your budget hearings are on September 9th, because the Volusia County Schools and the Volusia County gets precedent over meeting dates and times when it comes to the budget. So we'll be meeting on September 9th, and we'll bring this item back to you. The only two updates I have for you tonight are the two capital projects. We're nearly done with work at Granada and Clyde Morris. They have finished the two manholes. They're finishing the inside of those tonight. Paving is scheduled for tomorrow, weather permitting, and they should finish that on Thursday. We've made some repairs to our reuse water line, and the pressure seems to be good on that. So our fingers are crossed, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Any questions for Joyce? Deputy Mayor Kent.
Joyce, on the reuse water, because I know that I've had calls, and I definitely know that Commissioner Selby's area has had a lot of calls on this. Do we have a plan in place? And when we start getting a lot more rain, like today was an incredible amount of rain that came down out of the sky, and but when we have days and days and days of this, do we, I know we have the capability, but do we have an opportunity to increase days for our residents, get the word out to them so they know that, you know, they can water a little bit more? You know, I know recently I have a provider that treats my yard, and he said, if you can tell your yard guy to do this, this, and this. And I said, well, you're talking to the yard guy, and my backup is my son. But he said, you know, the more water you can get on this yard right now. And he actually said, we are having tons of problems in your city because of what's going on with people who are on reuse. And it just had me holding my head like, goodness gracious, you know, we're not only affecting residents, but we're affecting the companies that treat people's yards. So my question to you, Joyce, is do we have a plan in place whenever we're flush with reused water to open those valves up and get that reverse code red call out to our residents, or something on our website that says, please use water today, or something like that?
Well, first of all, we are looking into exploring an opportunity for everybody to do that. We've had some calls, people telling us they don't want any reuse right now because we've had so much rain. We do believe that with the repairs that we've made to the pressure for the line, that will drastically improve what people are seeing. But we've talked all along about adding an extra day for repairs, but I just don't think we're there just yet. So I'll talk with our Public Works Director to see if there's times when we're, as you say, flush with water, that we can put a code red out for people to use the system.
Thank you, and that's been my hope with the plans that we've put in place, our deal with Holly Hill and our interconnect, so that we can at least give everybody a third day, and maybe ease up on those times a little bit, because, you know, I know people they have a broken sprinkler head, and, you know, they've got limited times, you know, at night, you know, 8 or 10 o'clock at night until 8 in the morning when they can get it going. So thank you for having staff continue to look into this.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Any other questions, Mr. Mayor?
Questions for the city manager? If not, thank you, Joyce, and we will move to Assistant City Manager Claire Whitley.
Good evening. No additional comments tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. And City Attorney Randy Hayes.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything this evening.
Great. Thank you, Randy. And tonight we start reports, suggestions, and requests with Commissioner Littleton.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start off by saying I hope everyone came out and voted today. The results, including local races, have been interesting. I want to thank staff for all the hard work they've done on especially the Clyde Morris and Granada area. My residents have been feeling it over there, and so have all of our residents, and they've done a wonderful job taking care of that issue. And I want to pray for all the people on the land affected by the tornado this afternoon. And with that, I'll say good night.
Amen. Thank you, Commissioner Littleton. Commissioner Selby.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I really just have one comment this evening, and that is I just want to make you all aware of the St. Johns River Water Management District recently put out a $25 million grant fund for Indian River Lagoon projects, water quality projects. It's capped at $2.5 million per project. And had we moved forward, you know, with our septic to sewer program on the North Peninsula, we would have been in a position to apply for one of these grants. And frankly, I think we would have been a shoo-in for it. And it really just reinforces in my mind the importance of being ready for things like this. But to be ready means, means doing what we decided not to do, which is actually invest the money to get a design and getting design and permitting done for that first phase. And with that, I'll say good night.
Thank you, Commissioner and Deputy Mayor Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to talk about one thing tonight, and that is the city of Ormond Beach and our financial health. I am so proud to be a part of this team, a team that I'm going to bring two things up. That State Road 40 Granada and Clyde Morris, we have a major issue with a sewer line, and we are able to get a contractor there immediately. We have funds available to get this fixed. You're right, Commissioner Littleton, this is a major inconvenience. This is our major artery east and west in our community. But my hat's off to staff, but my hat is really off to the men and women I serve with on this commission, because we make smart, healthy, financial decisions. And because we do, we're able to take care of problems like that. Because we make smart, healthy financial decisions, when other communities are scrambling to try to get a provider to pick up all of the yard debris after a hurricane glances us, Ormond Beach is ready to go because we have the money to pay them immediately. And we can also wait 3 years for FEMA to pay us back because we make smart financial decisions. And last but not least, the thing I'm the most proud of is that during a worldwide pandemic, this commission is able to give tax relief to our bosses, our residents, our neighbors, our family and friends, and people we don't know. I'm proud to work alongside each and every one of you. Have a great night. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And Commissioner Persis.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I was going to mention too about the sewer repair on Granada and 40, and it is incredible that it's going to be finished tomorrow. I mean, it seems like the work they have just worked so hard, and it's just amazing that to get it done so quickly. I'm just very impressed with, again, I've said it before, with Sean Finley and the crew and just how quickly they've worked. Also, I'm really excited about the, what is it called? The adaptive signal control installation that's going to begin, on Granada. And I think that's going to help with our, the traffic at certain times during the day. So I'm really excited about that. And speaking of Granada, those bejeweled palms look great. It's just really made our main artery just look fabulous, just like Ormond Beach should and does look. So I'm just very, very, very proud of it. So with that, I'll say good night to everybody.
Thank you, Commissioner Persis. And Commissioner Littleton, I had spoken to the city manager earlier about the situation in DeLand, and obviously she was going to reach out and see if they needed any assistance from us. We're there for our sister city in any way that we can be. Quite a bit of devastation over there. So yes, they are in our thoughts and prayers, and thank you for remembering them. Commissioner Persis, the Medjool Palms, I've had lots of positive comments on those. They create a sense of place, and people will remember who maybe don't live in Ormond Beach, but they drive through and they see that beautiful kind of promenade into the city. And it's a really nice thing, and it's grant funded. So if we hadn't taken advantage of that and beautified our city, some other community would have. So why not have some of those dollars that our residents pay to the state come back to Ormond Beach and be utilized by Ormond Beach? It just makes good sense. And it is beautiful, and people are loving them according to the comments that I'm getting. Deputy Mayor Kent, you struck all the right notes on our city's fiscal responsibility. Nobody around here, I don't believe, does it better than we do. And it's whether it's Kelly McGuire or Joyce Shanahan, all the department heads, and the policy direction from this commission. We're just lucky to live in a great, well-managed fiscal city. So with that, I wish everybody the best, and we will see you back on September 9th, and we will be adjourned at 8:30. Thank you all. We'll see you.